this is sometimes capital raisers as well. I need to borrow $50,000 versus, hey, Edgar, I have a $50,000 opportunity for you. And we're actually going to be able to help a co-living property that is going to impact aged out foster children. And we can probably, for the time and the term that you will be with us, you could probably impact 7 to 14 foster children. And in addition to that, you are going to make XYZ because you are lending to us.
One of the things Pace says about real estate, there's too many ways to win.
Yes, too many ways to win or too many ways to stick your foot in it.
Yeah, you always want to get advice from people that are at least two. I never say go to the top. Like you want 2 steps, 3 steps ahead of you. If you get advice from somebody that's like 10 years ahead of you, it's going to be a little overwhelming and not taking it, piece by piece.
Hello and welcome to Dream Start Own. I am your host, Edgar the Connector, and today we have the power couple of Michelle Bryan and Vin Ochoa from San Antonio, Texas.
Well, thank you.
You guys born and raised there, or y'all moved there?
I was born and raised here, but I had left for 14 years a few years ago. And Mr. Vin is a transient from the Californians. We know how that is, right, Edgar?
I'm like, transient, that's a big word. I might actually have to get out my dictionary to figure out what that word means. But originally from Los Angeles, California, been in Texas now for 4 years or so. So not a recent transplant, but pretty recent. Again, Michelle's born and raised here in San Antonio, but we've both been in San Antonio roughly about the same amount of time. So,
okay.
Yeah.
And then you were gone for 14 years. Did you go to Los Angeles?
Miami, Florida.
Miami.
So, Miami and LA meet in San Antonio. Weird mix, but yes.
So kind of meet in the middle.
3,000 miles to meet.
Yeah. So how did y'all meet? Let's just get to that point.
Well, we have 2 different stories, so
It's the same story for different details, but just the way all three of or us and you, Edgar, met through a mastermind. It was through a mastermind through a mutual friend. When I was in LA during COVID, I was actually looking to come out to Texas, and I was looking for a commercial building for the business I had at the time. And so I knew a couple people that left the state, and half of them were in real estate. And I just started calling out to people that I knew. I said, hey, who do you know that can help me find some real estate? Well, Michelle's name kept coming up, and so I'm like, okay, let's get in contact with her. And so she actually ended up calling me. She was on my to-do list, but I'm like, I'll get to it by the end of the week. And she called me within 24 hours. That's how intentional she is.
Yep. And just try to help a fellow, because we were in the same mastermind. So a fellow person, and I wanted nothing. It was business related. And just within that month, Vin decided that we would no longer do business at that time together. And so for about a year or 2 years, we didn't do business together. And now we do business and life together. So
it's been an interesting ride the last couple of years, to say the least. So I feel truly blessed in regards to that aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome story. Meeting from 2 sides of the coast, and now moving to San Antonio compared to Los Angeles and Miami. No shade to San Antonio.
It's a little different.
So did you do it just to be close to the family, Michelle?
So actually, that's how I started my real estate journey. So when I was a baby investor, I thought you had to invest where you lived. I didn't know you could do out-of-state investing, didn't know that concept. Believe it or not, about 4.5 years ago, almost 5 years ago, I thought you had to come to the table with a briefcase in order to buy real estate. And I thought it had to all be cash, and that's what investors had to do. So came back, and I really, at that time, just trying to figure out, like, I wanted to build a legacy, and as most people do, and they want to do that for their family. And so mom and I did real estate together initially, and that's how we got into the game. And yeah, that's why it brought me back here. And now I know better. Now we have in different states, we have a real estate, but you don't know that when you start, or at least I didn't.
Yeah, most of us don't. I thought the same thing for the longest time. come up with save up all your money, save, and then you can finally put 3% FHA, 5% conventional, 20% for investor. What opened up your eyes to say that you didn't have to do that?
Yeah, so I'm a big believer in masterminds. It's funny. I've been an entrepreneur for over 15 years, and I didn't know what masterminds were up to probably about 8 years ago. And I used to always think I was, different, and always the entrepreneur and getting things done and the hustle mentality back then. And when I got into when I got into real estate, I was like, I want to make sure that I'm going to get, taught the right way or get mentored at least. And so going through that, it made me really quickly realize that, you need to learn how to leverage. I won't say where we're at on our journey today is exactly where obviously I was then. I didn't leverage other people's money. And that's kind of where Vin kind of pushed me to that point a couple of years after getting into investing. But really, I'm all about acceleration and mentorship. I always like to see people that have already done it and they've either been successful or at least they can tell you what didn't succeed and what failed so that you can have that acceleration program to be able to you still learn things as you go, but maybe you can avoid a couple of other things. So.
Well said. So Vin's the one that really taught you about using other people's money. And a thing that I've been hearing a lot on the podcast is the who, not the how. So in this situation, Vin was the who. So Vin, where did you learn about the using other people's money?
Well, so this is actually my 21st year in real estate. And it's crazy to even say that out loud, but I've never put in a single penny of my own pocket into any real estate deal. Not one. And so I learned early on to leverage other people's money. And so people always assume that you need a bunch of capital to actually do real estate. And the truth is you do, but nobody ever says it has to be your money. You just have to be good at finding it. You have to be good at leveraging it. You have to be good at just using all the tools at your disposal. Because regardless of what you're doing, you have a tool belt. Every new skill that you learn is a new tool in that tool belt. And so I learned early on. I've had some failures in the very beginning, but then I learned the same thing, just like Michelle, about mastermind. I'm a dirt poor Mexican from East LA, so there's nobody in the ghettos teaching this kind of stuff. And so I quickly realized that the people that I was asking for help were all, oh, well, let me tell you how to do it. Let me tell you how to do it. Let me tell you how to do it. No skin in the game, no actual hands-on experience, just all theoretical. And so one day the light bulb went on. I'm like, I'm getting advice from the wrong people, but I didn't have any other resource around me. And I always use this analogy. It's like asking my uncle that's been divorced 7 times, asking him for love advice. That doesn't make any sense, but we all do that. I'm like, he's not going to show me how to be married and how to stay in love and everything else. He's either going to tell me how to end up divorced or single. And so I really started taking a look at my immediate circle. I'm like, I love these people, but I can't learn what I'm trying to learn from them. I got to venture out of that circle. And so then that's when I discovered communities and masterminds and everything else. And at that point, it was just like, okay, I'm willing to pay to hack that curve. If it took somebody 10 years to figure out what I'm trying to do and I can learn that in 18 months, why wouldn't I do it? And so that was really the start of it. And so ever since then, it's just been off to the races. And when Michelle and I met, she's a very strong, independent Latina. And so she'll even tell you this. And she's like, nope. She's like, I can do this all on my own. But there's nothing wrong with that. But if you do enough of what you're good at, you're going to hit a wall at some point. And so I'm like, you got to leverage the people around you, because it's not just you needing them. They also need you as much as you need them for a deal, because just having your money sit in the bank or under a mattress, it's not a good deal for anybody.
Such a powerful point. That's amazing that you were able to see that you shouldn't be taking advice from the people closest to you that aren't doing the thing. Mm-hmm. And I believe most humans, just in general, they want to believe everything their parents tell them because they're their idols usually. They've been around longer, so they think that they know a lot more. but you were able to see that you shouldn't take advice from the people that aren't in the position that you want to do is powerful and such a good lesson for anybody listening to this, to remember that just because your family's there, you love them, they love you, they're not always going to be able to point you in the right direction to grow the fastest and the best way.
100%. 100%.
Yeah, you always want to get advice from people that are at least two. I never say go to the top. Like you want 2 steps, 3 steps ahead of you. If you get advice from somebody that's like 10 years ahead of you, it's going to be a little overwhelming and not taking it, piece by piece. Someone that has a little bit more, that has been there a couple of steps ahead, I always recommend is that's where you want to be, or being in those rooms. Because sometimes, I mean, we, if we are taking advice from Tony Robbins and talking about business, but yet our levels of hitting 7 figures yet, or 8 figures is not there, it's not going to be relevant. It's just going to see it's too far ahead, even though the baby steps can get you there.
Yeah,
well
that's
said.
very true.
So what is it? What's your business like today? I know recently you did a fractional raise, the Amigos Club. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
How much did y'all raise there, and what are y'all using it for? What's your day-to-day in your entrepreneurship? Because both of y'all don't have a W-2, right?
No, sometimes I think we should, but we're unemployable, or at least I am. I probably come in and try to tell them what they should or shouldn't do with their business. So no, we both do this full time. So, I mean, as far as our business currently right now, we are really in the lending seat now. What we have done, I started as in the investor seat, and buy and holds has always been where I started. I always tell people think when you come into real estate, some people think I need to come in as a real estate agent, I need to come in as a wholesaler. Honestly, I tell people it's your story. You can come in wherever you want. For me, I was in a GC prior to being an investor, and I knew I wanted to do buy and hold. So we have midterm rentals is a lot of what our portfolio is. It's kind of diverse a little bit, but primarily midterm rentals. Vin was in the fix and flip game because he lived in California and it didn't make sense to hold properties. And so when we decided to partner together back in 2023, he really came into my business. Mom was a W-2 earner and also retirement. And she realized, she's like, I'm writing checks for renovations that I made. That's what I used to do for the full year and annual. So Mom was able to, because we bought several properties the first year, her and I, she was able to semi-retire. And I think it was almost like a tag team. There was a situation, Vin was exiting his other business partnership and they kind of tag teamed down, and she's like, oh, he can handle the property management with you. And then we started growing our empire together. And so we continuously started to do that. But then we realized last year in 2024 that there was time for scale, and we needed to figure what did that look like. And the first 19 properties, I never raised capital, didn't believe in it, had my back against the wall. And then Vin, that's when we started to leverage other people's money. And we've been doing that for the last few years. So real quick, we decided to try to do property management and realized real quickly that wasn't our seat. And yeah, so, I get stressed out at making sure that our properties are booked. And I was like, man, if we get somebody else's properties, like I'm gonna even be more stressed out. So we really took an audit in our lives and we said, you know what, we have been really good at capital raising. We have been able to do that. And it's not just the capital raising side of it, is really being able to build with our private money lenders. And so that was around November, December, we started having that conversation. And then 2025 is when we really started to see how that was going to evolve. We're part of a community that talks nothing but about money and lending and learning about that. Everything has kind of evolved so quickly. And so we were doing one deal at a time. And I was going to find the capital, and these are smaller deals. These are gap lending. These are anywhere from 30,000 to about 150,000, and I would just have to do one deal at a time. And then we got exposed to fractional. We said, hey, why not? Why don't we get a pool of people instead of doing one deal at a time, and now we can have a little bit of money to actually be able to leverage into the communities. So we raised 500,000 in 10 days. Yeah. And so 500,000 in 10 days. We initially chose to do it only 500,000 because we just wanted to see that proof of concept. And now we're talking about others, and it's been an itch. So anything I left out?
No, I think that's a perfect way to end that segment of it, that you're itchy nowadays. So
yeah.
It's been interesting. We thought the 10 days was a little bit on the slow side, but apparently it's actually pretty quick to do an investment club. We're already in talks for a second one. And then truth be told, there's already talks of a third one after that coming probably before the end of the year. So we really love what the opportunities it opens up, because it was able to fix, I guess the right way, as a whole in our business, because there was times to where people would come, but the dollar amount that they had ready to lend wasn't a good fit for the project we were working at the time. So we were saying no more often than we were comfortable with. And so we're like, there's an opportunity there, but I can't in good conscience take that and lock up a property for the amount of the meat on the bone, the equity that's still available. It just doesn't make sense. And so there's got to be a better way. And we were looking for this. And at Squad Up this year is when we became aware and exposed to what they were doing. And I'm like, oh man, that's actually, I think, the missing piece of what we've been doing for the last 4 years. I'm like, all right, let's do a small one, and let's have a proof of concept. And literally it was overfunded in 10 days to where people, even after we closed it, were still calling. Like at this point, it's been a couple months, and I still got a phone call, I think it was either this week or last week, to where somebody was trying to join the Amigos club. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but that closed a while ago. So it's definitely opened up the horizon for us to think bigger and bigger. So it's exciting to see what's coming our way and what we're working towards.
That's extraordinary that you were able to raise 500K on a new platform that you haven't used before, fractional, and that money is going to be paying dividends, correct, to your investors?
Mm-hmm. So it's an investment club, and so it's a debt club. What does that mean? We lend on short term, so we're truly just lending. There's no equity play in that, and we're being other people's bank in a capacity. So we're doing short term lending, anything less than 6 months. So all the fix and flippers. We've done a couple of creative things in there. There's a lot of co-living in our communities that people are looking to. So we've done the entry cost, right? And just so that they can get the property subject to. And then they're going and refinancing it with a longer private money lender. But sometimes when we need the money to close on a deal, it needs to be fast. And building those relationships with your private money lenders takes a little bit of time. So we were able to secure the property and then be able to refinance. They're going to be refinancing Amigos out with a new person. And that allowed us actually to get into the deal. Another example is someone is doing buy and hold, right? And I say these because a lot of people think short-term lending is only for fix and flippers. And so this buy and hold, she needed to secure the property. He had backup offers, and she needed to do it as a long-term rental. So a DSCR loan, and an investor loan sometimes takes about 30 days. So we came in and we are filling in that gap. We went into first lien position, helped her acquire the property. We make our returns, just like you mentioned. And I'm also being able to help her with the DSCR. So keeping the end in mind. And as we've been growing this, we are really molding what our lending, company is going to be looking like, in which I don't know as of right now anyone doing what we're doing, in the sense of truly potentially, Edgar, being able to provide 100% funding. And that is, do we secure a hard money lender and then get a gap lender in place? That's 100% funding, not from one individual. Or do we provide them the short term up front and then be able to get them into a DSCR, and then they cash us out, right? They refi out the private money lenders, and then they can get into a DCR. So everything has been evolving as we're just focusing on this. And I think that is where this is where we thrive. And I believe as investors, we're all capital raisers at some point in time once you learn that. But what we're wanting to create is that it's the only lane we stay in. And so that we never run out of money, because I know as an investor, even though we know how to capital raise, going and getting the property, then constructing it, then going to capital raise again, then go and get another property, you're stopping and going and stopping and going. Whereas imagine having, someone as a resource like us, that there's always money available as long as it's a good deal.
Ask us how we know how difficult that can be, because that's been the lane that we've been in. It's like, okay, do we go look for the deal? Do we underwrite the deal? Do we go look for capital? And it's a never ongoing juggling act.
Definitely. It's one of the things Pace says about real estate. There's too many ways to win.
Or there's too many ways to win, or too many ways to stick your foot in it.
Yeah, I constantly say I have my plate full and I keep on throwing things on there. It's like being on a buffet line. You're like, ooh, that's good. Yeah, ooh, that's good. But you're like, you eat some of the things like, I shouldn't have got that. I shouldn't have got that. Same thing with real estate.
Yeah.
You're getting into things that you probably shouldn't, because they're not going to help you grow the way you want to grow, or they're not going to help you scale where you really want to be doing it, instead of saying yes to everything. Put yourself in your lane. And I'm still getting to that point of, hey, focus on this and not help out everywhere. Learn to say no a little bit more.
Yeah.
You're not alone in that one. I'm right there with you. I think I always say, if you ever want to sell something, if you have something to sell, walk into a room full of salespeople, because salespeople buy everything without even asking questions, and I'm guilty of that. So I get it.
It's one reason to turn off ads. Anything else said to me. So let's pivot a little bit. 21 years, Mr. Vin, that you've been doing real estate. Part of the story of the Dream Start On podcast is the dream. Where did the dream come for you to be getting into real estate?
The dream came. See, here's the thing, and for being a little transparent, I didn't know I was poor when I was little. It wasn't until I was late in my teens that I realized that. And really, it was seeing my mom raised by a single woman. Again, my dad was in the picture. He's passed since then. But really, it was my mom that raised 3 kids. And I think she did a phenomenal job. But she was always working. We always had a roof over our head. There was always beans, frijoles and arroz at the house. Always beans and rice and corn tortillas. I could always count on that. But I'm like, I knew even then, I'm like, this just doesn't seem like something that I want to continue doing. Like, my mom was working 7 days a week. I'm like, there's got to be something better. We were always going to church and always helping out the community and giving back. And so I like that aspect of it. So I'm like, how can I not work so hard, spend time with the family? Because my memory of my mom is always working. She was a seamstress. So even when she wasn't working, she was at home working. And that's the visual that I have of when I was little. And then when we'd go to church or on Sunday or something, if we saw somebody, we would stop and help them. So I'm like, how do I do less of that and more of this? And so I started thinking and started realizing, started researching. And it's kind of like what Michelle said. I'm like, I think real estate is a good venture. Like, I keep hearing that most millionaires are made from real estate. I'm like, I don't know what that means, but it got my interest. And I hear 91% of millionaires got there because of real estate. So I'm like, let me go down that rabbit hole. And my first bad belief was that I needed a real estate license. And so that's where I started. I'm like, okay, well, if I'm going to do real estate, I got to go get a real estate license. I couldn't be farther from the truth, because you don't. I still have my real estate license still to today in California, because it just made me a faster investor. But in Texas, I can have a license here too, but it's set up a little bit different. And specifically in regards to Supra and lock boxes and all that, a lot of properties here, it's not as common as it is in California. So for me, when I was interested in a property, I could go walk it at 2, 3, 4 in the morning and hope that somebody didn't think I was breaking into it and call the cops. But that was really what it was. It's like, okay, how can I maximize my time? How can I try to maximize income to then be able to give back to the things that I care about and the people that I care about? And so that's really where that aha moment was for me. I'm like, I'm smart, but I don't like school. My brother and my sister are brainiacs. They're straight A students. I wasn't that person. Like, I sometimes think that I'm smarter than them, but I wasn't a school person. So I'm like, what else can I think that I can do that doesn't require me spending 8 years in a university? And so that just came screaming to top of mind.
Very insightful that you were able to see that and then learn about that stat about 91% of millionaires make their money through real estate, through that industry, and that you were able to just go into it. Do you remember your first deal that you did as an investor?
The very, very first deal when I was going to start was going to be as a private money lender. I'm glad I didn't do that specific deal, but I wish I would have stayed in that seat as opposed to being a day-to-day operator. The very first deal was in LA. It was a JV that I'm like, okay, and it was really for me to try to learn. There was other people that I had followed before then, but my first deal was there, and it ended well. And so I'm like, okay, some of the nerves I shook off, and I'm like, I think I can replicate this. And throughout the years, people have always asked, like, what's the secret sauce? I'm like, secret sauce is hard work. And I always say, I'm like, I'm too stupid to know when to stop. Like, when most people are like, okay, well, I got to stop for X, Y, Z, or the family or work, like, I'll just keep doing it. And I would really say that that's the biggest difference. It's that last 10%. It's the 10% that most people aren't willing to do for whatever reason. It's usually self-limiting or self-belief or just excuses. And that's the beauty of having a relationship with Michelle, is that I think she thinks the same way. I think sometimes she's more aggressive with that than I am. But it really is just that last 10% that I think does make a difference.
That is such a profound point. It's one thing that Einstein would say is, I'm not smarter than everybody else. I just stick with the problem longer. You know, that extra 10%, that part that a lot of people quit at. A lot of the most successful people are the ones that continue to go and fail forward and just keep on pushing through.
Yeah, 100%. I never like walking into a room and being the smartest person. If that's me, then I walk out and go find the room where I'm the dumbest person in the room.
Yeah, good point. And if you're watching this and you keep on going to the room where you're the smart one, you're just feeding your ego. Get out of there, go somewhere else if you want to grow and be successful.
Yep.
So Michelle, what about you? What got you into real estate? You haven't been in it too long. What were you doing before? Was there something that clicked? Was it when you met Vin after you started real estate?
Yeah. So I actually had a consulting business. I've been in the recruiting and staffing world through all my corporate career. And then I quickly moved into my entrepreneur side. And so I had I was doing staffing and consulting really and then had an opportunity that was provided to me. And so I had a friend of mine that said, hey, I work for this large hedge fund company. Didn't know what that meant back then, but this big hedge fund company that's buying a lot of real estate. They were buying 300 properties a month in South Florida. And and so it's the Ameritrust of the world, the Resi Pros, Home Imitations. Those have been all my clients. But prior to that, he said, I'm having a problem. And I'm like, well, what's that problem? I can't find subcontractors to actually get the job done. We get a subcontractor come in, we give them 5 homes and we need them to be make ready. And they take like 3 months to get them done. And we need them done in 45 days. And so I said, well, that's easy. Coming from a staffing mentality, I was like, I'll get and hire crews for each department and each property, and then I'll run the crews. And so when I did that, I said, real estate keeps coming up. This would be a good segue for me to get in. Don't know why I chose general contracting. That's probably one of the harder seats to get in, and especially as a woman, but did it. But I really quickly realized I solved the problem, and then I became one of their top subcontractors. Their average subcontractor was getting about 7 homes a month, and I was doing 16 to 20. And so what I did is I was the GC, and I would be able to staff, but then I also, the people that I found were the subcontractors that weren't good at sales and marketing or negotiating. So those were my leads, and they came on board, and I said, okay, this is a very simple thing. I'm not going to sling the hammers, but I'll make sure we have the contracts. I'll make sure we'll get paid, which is a big thing that subcontractors don't get. I'll make sure invoicing is done. So I'll do all operations and, back office while you guys are out in the forefront, and let's just keep this going. So that's, I did that, and I was very successful. And I remember at one point, right when COVID hit, we were an essential company, so we were still going strong. I just said, okay, I've made the success of what I see, but I still am not fulfilled. So I made the money factor, and I made the money. I was already private yachts and jets and flying in all these places, but I still wasn't fulfilled. And I said, okay, I need to figure out what is that and what does that look like? And that is why I said, you know what, coming home and helping and building a legacy for my family, because mom was a single mother as well. Then I had a stepfather that came in and dealt with three, young ladies at that time, and raised us. But really it was, what are we going to leave behind? And so when I came back, I told my mom, I said, look, there's only one non-negotiable that I have in order for us to be business partners. And that is that we have to have a purpose-driven company, and it has to be fulfilling, not the monetary side. And so she said, well, I raised you right, and absolutely, let's do this together. And that's how I started my journey. I bought my first property when I was still in Florida. I bought from a New Western wholesaler, which I know people have, say certain things about them. I bought 90% of my portfolio with my mom and I through a New Western wholesaler. Same guy. He just knew my buy box. And that's how my journey started, was because of that.
Incredible that you figured out that you wanted more than just the money, that put a purpose onto it. I had Brian Madsen on the podcast as well recently. And he said the same thing. He was flipping houses, making lots of money, but he wasn't satisfied because he didn't have a purpose behind it. And his purpose is to help out veterans now. Shout out to Brian. And then also Vin and Michelle and my mom as well. Shout out to the solo mothers that did it, worked extra hours to make sure we had food on the table and had our utilities paid and been able to go to school, roof over our heads, and, that we were able to do pretty well for ourselves compared to other people, right?
Yeah.
We'd be grateful every day for having a mother that way.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's I still say every day, I'm like, I have a hard time raising myself. I don't know how you raised all of us.
Oh. That's funny. So you got the Amigos going on right now. Your midterm rentals, those are still going? You still have those around?
Yes. So we still have a midterm rental portfolio. Mm-hmm.
Going to shifting the midterm rentals a little bit, because this is something I was looking into a bit, was finding companies to rent out my property on midterm rental. What do you suggest people use to find those tenants, leasers?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Vin, if you want to talk about that, I know you're on the sales side of it. I mean, when we both know it's a full-time business. I will say that, right?
It's 100% full-time business. I think there's a lot of people jumping ship or having issues with it right now, because if we go back, especially during COVID, it was almost like I think it was Ronco, the little oven, set it and forget it. It was very much like that on Airbnb. I'm going to buy a property, set it and forget it, and it's going to cash flow. That was true at one point. It's not true today. And so we actually had a conversation with somebody very recently, like, oh, well, the business is dead. I'm like, no, the business is not dead, but like now you actually have to get into a sales seat. There's no more to where, hey, I'm just going to buy an extra property, list it, and people are going to come. Like, no, that's not the case, especially this time of year when everybody's getting ready to go back to school and people are transitioning. Yeah, it's a little bit slow right now. So that's when we got to be more aggressive. And so we do midterm. We work a lot with displaced families here in San Antonio. It's Military City, USA. And then the other third big avatar currently is construction companies. We do a lot with traveling professionals and that we've done everything from nurses to doctors. But the reason I lean more towards construction companies right now is because there's been such an influx of knuckleheads that come from California and New York that literally you get in a car and you drive in any direction in San Antonio, you're going to run into construction. If nothing else, just on the freeway. There's construction everywhere. So San Antonio as a whole, the infrastructure can't keep up with that demand. And they've been bringing companies out as far out as California, as far out as Florida. And usually because people don't know, they'll put them in a hotel. Well, if you put 4 grown men in a hotel at $100 a night, on a good night, you're looking at $400. If they can stay with us for half the price, I'm already making their company more profitable while still housing all of them in a 4-bedroom house. They still have their own bedroom, they have their private bathrooms, but now they have the community of the living room, of the kitchen, of a backyard with a grill. And so that's really what we've been doing. Moving forward, we're looking at trying to do something with aged out foster kids, but it really comes down to picking up the phone. If nothing else, picking up the phone, marketing, branding. I'll give you an example. This morning, I was at 2 networking events, and in between all of those, I had about 20 minutes to kill. And I go to the car wash to get my car washed, and the vehicle that pulls in right behind me is a fire and flood restoration company. I don't even think I'd mentioned this to you, Michelle. So what do? I'm going to walk over there and have a conversation with the guy and tell him what we do. He's like, I think we can do something together. Here's my business card. Send me an email. Let's get on the phone, because they're working with displaced families that either had a fire or flood damage. They also work with the adjusters, which is really the gatekeeper to the whole operation. And then that adjuster works with the ALE companies. And that's really the people that you want to stay in front of. So I've eliminated 2, maybe 3 of the middlemen to try to go, I won't say direct because we still have to vet it, but companies like that, they're a gold mine, and I don't think anybody's really paying attention to them. But it's really just getting creative and not being afraid to knock on some doors. And Michelle knows this. There's times we're driving down the street and she'd be like, "Hey, that house is interesting. I'm wondering if they're going to sell it, or I'm wondering if it's a fixer or a fix and flip or whatever it might be." I'm like, "Let's make a U-turn. There's only one way to find out. Let's go." She's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "You want to know if it's for sale? There's only one way. Like, we might be able to pick up a property off market right now." So it's just you can't rely on Airbnb. We do some Airbnb, but I call it the Swiss cheese. It's a Swiss cheese between the midterm. We have some long term. We do a little bit of Section 8. So we're across the entire spectrum of what we do, but our main lane is midterm rentals.
Yeah. And so it's a lot of B2B, right? So business to business. Real estate agents is another good one. A lot of people don't talk to, especially Houston, San Antonio, Dallas. There's a lot of relocations, and sometimes they're getting a new property developed, or they're in transition housing. And so maybe the closing is getting, delayed. They could stay with us instead of going in direct in Airbnb and fighting the seasonalities, right? And fighting if it's high season, 4th of July, Christmas, something like that. And so we keep a very standardized pricing. We know what our pricing is for our properties to be able to get referrals in. But it is a very front heavy, just like any business, right? Business development, sales. We had that conversation yesterday. Like, any business requires sales. And you have to have that. And it's no different than the midterm rentals, Airbnbs now, of the world, even with long-term rentals, right? So
that's, very, very insightful about getting into just the company vehicle, seeing that and making conversation. That's the extraordinary part, that the 10% that push through, that will take that step to do that.
Oh, we've been in hotel lobbies, sitting in hotel lobbies waiting because we know where the insurance companies put them, because a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people don't know if your house gets a fire or flood, all you think is that the insurance company is going to call you and they're going to put you and your family and your pets in a 1-bedroom for 6 months. So a lot of people are uneducated or unaware because we don't have a fire or flood every single, time. We maybe use our insurance one time out of 20 years. And so we would sit in hotel lobbies and be like, "Hey, are you here because your house, an unfortunate situation?" And we would get clients like that.
It's a little stalkery, but it works as long as you don't come off creepy.
Yeah, I love it
Every-
though. That's the way you become successful, thinking outside the box, doing things a little uncomfortable to be able to grow.
Mhm.
Um, that's a very good idea. Go ahead out to the hotel. It's the first time I hear that one. How do you figure out your pricing for it? Because I did a search probably about a year ago online trying to figure out what you price, because everybody says, oh, you can price so much more, but nobody tells you like a percentage, 30% more than market, 50, double, whatever.
Yeah. So everybody always asks, how do you price? Right. And so the way that I've done it, or the way that I see, is we obviously own rentals. We know that on our actual policy, what our policy shows for, right? So let's just say $300,000 is what the house is going to go for if we had to do a rebuild value. And so I basically typically, when you are working with relocation specialists, they do within 5 miles radius within where the home's at, in order to put you back. Like that's, because you want to be in the same school zones and all of that. So typically out of that, they'll do 20% when it comes to additional living expenses. That is what ALE is called. So 20%, that's $60,000. Now, with that 60,000, right, you have to understand that that's the cost of where they're staying, their food, room and board, everything. So I will divide that typically, because they're not going to stay with us a year. I know depending on their damage, they would, and this is how I started doing it before, but depending on their damage, then you can divide that per month. And sometimes you do it 12 months, that would be 5,000. You do it 7 months, you have a little bit more. Here's the thing. I think a lot of people that get into this space don't realize, once the money's gone, it's gone. So we now our pricing, we know what we're comfortable with. You hear people say 2x what the rental market is. That is another way you can do it. So if it's 2,000 as a rental market, you can go 2x, that's $6,000. And so, or $4,000, sorry. You really just you have to see what works for you. But what I have found is I've kind of cracked that code when it comes to the 20%, as I know is what they do, because I talk to a lot of insurance people. And we've been good. I mean, we've been good to play in that space. There's times that they've come to us and said their budget, because that's the thing, is when they come and they say, hey, my budget, we always ask the relocation specialist, what's the budget? And they'll tell us. And then I always take it a step further and ask, okay, what was the damage, or what was it? Because if it was just a, pipe that burst and it's on half the house, contractors are slow, but we know it's gonna, which we like in this position, we like contractors to be slow. And when we're acquiring properties, we don't want them to be slow. So we'll gauge. And there's been times that we've been where they said their budget is 6,500. And we've come in and done 4,500 because we want them to stay longer. Because we know, they say all the time when we get these calls, Edgar, they say, oh, they'll be done in 1 month. I'm like, no, they won't. On average, 6 to 8 months is the track record of when individuals stay with us. If anything happens, I think we have one right now. They're coming up on their 6 month.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and so that one was a car ran into the living room. Ran into the living room. They have 2 little girls. I'm glad that the little girls weren't there in the living room. And so they had to, construct the whole side of the house. So I think if you ask, what's your budget, right? And now some of the relocation specialist companies are getting smarter because a lot of what Vin was saying earlier, a lot of short-term Airbnb are jumping into the midterm rental space, and they're also learning about insurance and all of this. And sometimes they're just outpricing themselves. So it's really a preference of what you want. But I will tell you that we do make a very good spread when it does come to, the midterm rental side.
There's definitely, it comes back to the same thing originally. It is a very active business. So I just want to be clear, whoever's listening to this, it's not just a matter of, hey, let me buy a property. Okay, Airbnb is dying, so let me list it on this property. We're probably on 60 plus websites of ALE companies. What does that mean to the bottom line? Absolutely nothing. It's just because we're on all these and technically we're in their database, our phone doesn't ring like crazy from these companies. But if we reach out, or if we have a VA or somebody else on staff calling, then you see the uptick, because now it's that extra step of just not listening and just hoping for the best. It's actually trying to build relationships, building rapport. Some company will have a dedicated sales rep to a specific market in the country. Other companies are so big that it's almost like a round robin. Whatever comes up, then that somebody could be in Nebraska trying to house somebody in Southern California, and they've never been there and have no idea, but that's just the way that company is structured. Other companies are smaller enough to where it's like, okay, we have 12 reps, and between 12 reps, they're breaking up the US. And it's you just got to get to know people is really what it is. I always say we're not in the real estate business, we're in the people business.
Yeah. And it's, imagine them, they have all these files, right, of families that are going through some type of, devastation. And so it's like, you got to be top of mind just because you called them a month ago. And it's happened. We when we're really active, we're on all these websites, and then we talk to other operators. That's another thing you can do, Edgar. Say, hey, I have these properties here. If you have anything, let's do a referral based kind of situation. And there's been times that they've been in Austin and Houston, and they get the lead for here in San Antonio. And I'm like, I'm on their website. It doesn't matter. It's a relationship. It's the top of mind. Who was the last person that called? Oh, they said Texas. Oh my God, let's just, because they're on a crunch time as well, and dealing what they have to do that's on their desk. So
that's these operators. I didn't know there were 60 websites for ALE, and
there's probably more than
that. And the ALE, the alternate living expenses, that's a big thing. And yeah, being top of mind is very important in that part of the industry with the MTRs. Thank you for the information about the pricing. One reason I ask is when I did go to the ALE Solutions website, I think it was, they ask you like, how much is rent? I was like, I don't want to price myself out of it. I don't want to be too low. There's a fine line.
Yeah. And you can always, I honestly, you put the information on there, but they ask you every time they inquire, and they come and reach back out to you. So I think the biggest thing is making sure that whatever that dedicated email address is, you do respond, and then you follow up, and you really pick up the phones and build that relationship, because that what they can tell you over the phone. And Vin is very good at doing that. Like, as soon as we get an inquiry, let's get on the phone and let's just talk it out and see what information we can get. Because it's just like anything, right? They're going to go out and they're going to get 4 or 5 people within that area. And it's really who's going to respond first, if anybody responds. And then it's also like, oh, then the client, finds the homeowner finds one that they like, and then they'll ghost you, right? They'll forget about you. And it's not that they're intentionally doing it. They're just moving on to the next file.
The MTRs, are you, all the MTRs that you guys are doing, is it all your properties, or are you still property managing for other people? I know y'all don't like doing it, but it doesn't mean you're not doing it.
Just our properties. Yeah.
Okay. Are you looking to pick up any clients or no?
Not in that lane. So one of the things is that
we went down that rabbit hole before.
Yeah, that was last year. We decided that we wanted to, we were looking in the property management side, and we chose not to. So really our Mount Everest and what we're focusing on this year, and that was the thing, is that what can get us into scaling our business, and what are we good at? And that is really the capital raising side. So it's not just capital raising. We bring more to the table, obviously, with the investor hat on, and not just knowing how to go and build the relationships with the, investors. So we are looking, instead of doing one family at a time, is to really get into the co-living model and do multiple families at a time. In fact, we're already in the co-living. We're looking at our second one. But the beauty of the way we're doing this, is that when there's an opportunity to lend on it, people understand, okay, one, you can come in and just be a traditional lender and be the connector for all of that. Or if there is something that we can come in as capital partners, that is something that we want to be able to do. So our first co-living, we locked it down. I guess it's been about a month. And it's all through our network, this network of OC. Like, they saw us do fractional. They saw that we were capital raisers. Then we got into our huddle. And then this opportunity came to us, and they needed capital. So there were, I don't want to say that it was the easiest thing, because we obviously pre-raised the money, but I can tell you it was really easy. Like, the day of closing, and it's with a partnership, the day of closing, I didn't feel like we were closing on a property and we're owners in something in Denver, Colorado. And so this is co-living. They're converting it from a 5-bedroom to a 7-bedroom. It's multiple OC members and Subto members involved. And I'm like, Vin, this is how we can scale. And this is what we envisioned, but now it's in play. And then what I'm looking to do is, by doing that and being part of these other co-living opportunities, is looking to convert our current properties into possible co-living. So I don't want to be the first to in the innovation, because Midterm Rentals, when I started, we were doing a lot of military housing and it wasn't as big as what people know now. So there was a lot of struggles and learning and hurdles that we had to get through. So I want to be able to partner with good operators that have already been doing this, and then bring that back to San Antonio and implement that in some of the current assets we currently have. And so just real quick on the co-living, our biggest 3 are, Vin had mentioned it, aged out foster care. We are looking at veterans. We're military city veterans, and we're also looking at independent senior living. So those are the top 3 that we really want. Now, that doesn't mean that the other opportunities that we have, we won't, if the operators are really good at running that. So
fantastic. Congratulations on your Denver, Colorado deal.
Yeah.
Who's the OC members and how that deal come along?
Yeah, so Mike, and I always butcher his last name.
Manatakanian?
Yes.
See, every time I said it, I'm getting better at it.
So Michael McCons, yes, him. He brought it to our attention, and we're, like I said, he was like, "Hey, I am coming in," and so it's him, Jerry Kipton, and then we have one other Subto. We have about 4 or 5 people that are involved, but everyone is in their own strategic thing, and so that's what Mike and I had been talking about. Michael is in our pod thing, and so he really truly gave us an opportunity. He's like, "I know you guys want to be in co-living. We need some capital. Do you have this available?" And so everything kind of aligned. And one of the things that Vin and I realized is that we don't want to be on the property management side. So kind of going back to what you mentioned, we just, the fulfillment side is not our, superpower lane. Can we do it? Of course, but we choose not to, or wouldn't like to. And so we have, operations there, boots on the ground. We brought in the capital. Mike is continuously growing his Mount Everest. And now the second deal that we're looking at is with some other OC members in North Carolina that came on our desk this past week. It looks like a really good stellar deal. And so I'm excited about that. That's with the Davis, Rachel. Yeah, Rachel and Mike Davis. So we'll see if that one goes through. I'm excited about that. So I just love our community, because it's just, things are just starting to fall into place on everything that we wanted. It was crazy and weird when we were at Squad Up, and it was the first time that I cried to actually get into. I mean, you were the one pushing us, actually.
I wasn't pushing y'all. I was asking questions because y'all asked me about it, and you're like, "Should we do 1 or 2?" I go, "Well, you would do 1 because of this. You do 2 because if there is, like, we got creative listing. We're partners on creative listing because y'all both joined. Y'all got 2 shares. You got double the shares." So
yeah, it was one of those things that I knew before walking into that room, this was the next thing we needed. I just never have been emotional to join a mastermind, and Vin's like, "What's going on?" And I said, "I think this is the next step for us to truly level up in what we've been saying." And we're pretty good at leveling up, but it's now we have so much accountability and so many people that have the same direction and vision. It doesn't sound crazy when we say we want to build a $30 million lending business. That doesn't sound crazy to people. In fact, we have some people and they're like, "That's it?" I'm like, "Let us get to where we're going, and then we can."
One step at a time.
Yeah. 100%.
And for people that don't know, they're talking about Owners Club.
Yes.
Owners Club is Pace Morby's high level mentorship, mastermind, not mentorship, it's a mastermind community. And we all met up at Squad Up Summit, which was a fantastic event. That was my second one. Was this was your first one, Squad Up?
This is our first. Yes, we missed last year because we were actually on the stage speaking. Otherwise, I'm like,
Multiple stages.
yeah, multiple stages, and so it didn't pan out. But we wanted to be there last year. I'm sure it would have been first year OC members if we would have gone.
Yeah, it was fantastic. The energy there was just so contagious, and just networking till 2-3 o'clock in the morning, doing it again the next day at 8-9 a.m. So if you're watching this, Squad Up Summit's probably gonna be March or April next year. They haven't released the dates or the location yet. I think they're planning to do East Coast, last I heard, but maybe not. They did East Coast the first year, which was Orlando.
Yeah, they did Orlando.
Dallas this year, so might be West Coast. I guess
I'm like, I hope they keep it in Texas because that makes things easier.
Yeah, for us, definitely. But so welcome to Owners Club. I'm glad I was able to inspire you a little bit into joining. Hopefully I'm not the one that made you cry.
No, it was more so, like I said, our goals being aligned. Maybe the 1 or 2 seats did a little bit. No, just kidding.
Did y'all join Subto as well, or are you just in the Owners Club?
Yeah, we've been part of Subto and Gator for the last 3.5 years. I think we're going up on 4, but we weren't as active. Like, our main thing was that we were active in a couple of other communities, really on the private money side and raising capital for our own deals. We joined Subto to get creative finance deals. And then at one point there was a time that we were in our other communities and we heard about Gator, and we were like, what are we doing? Are we on the wrong side of the fence? Are we over here trying to be operators when we should be lenders? And then we joined. Gator was just a natural progression to join, but then we quickly realized at that time that it was going to be another business we were going to have to start. And we were in the thick of things of still building our property management business for our own stuff. And so we're part of those 2 communities. But then we really, again, like I said, a lot of audit, a lot of assessment, which you have to do as you're continuing to grow. Because sometimes you can be in a season in life and learn and want to do something and then realize that doesn't fulfill your purpose anymore. And you have to start to re-audit and say, what is it that I'm trying to continue to grow in? And it's okay to say, okay, doesn't no longer serves me. And that doesn't have to be business. That can be relationships. That can be partnerships. And so Vin and I did that last year, and it was just a lot of the soul searching. And so we really just said, hey, we haven't tapped into Pace's community as much as we have in our other ones. And we kind of just put it to the wayside because of the entry fee at that time was very cost effective, and it just didn't do a sting like Owners Club, right? But anyway, the whole point is that's when we started to say, let's really start to see and give it an opportunity. And now we've just been like on a crazy path on the races, all in good intention and good energy on that. So.
Yeah, 100%. I would say it's all been good since we've joined, and even before our last meetup in Monterey, California. Michelle and I have been doing what we now call the OC room, and we do a bi-weekly call with other owner club members. And so we'll do a 90-minute call every 2 weeks. And, thanks to Michelle, and that goes back to Carly over in Gator, we started doing speed dating with OC members. And just in the rooms that I was in yesterday, 3 potential deals came up to where members are going to do business with other members. And I think that's amazing. In addition to somebody that just after, I think it was like 5 or 6 years, finally published a book as a Kindle. I'm like, that's not good enough. We got to physically turn that into a book. Well, it turns out that an OC member did 30 years of publishing, and they happen to be in the same room at the same time. And it's like, hey, I can help you with that. We can knock this out by the end of the year. And it's like, holy crap. Just with those 4 conversations, that's potentially multi-million-dollar deals. And it's like everybody's very intentional, and everybody just moves at a different speed, and everybody encourages, everybody's supportive, everybody motivates. And just like Michelle said, it comes back to accountability. Like, somebody's going to call you out if you're not doing more to your full potential within the community.
Yeah. And I think the whole thing is, it doesn't necessarily have to be this. I know that your audience is a little bit of a blend, but find your tribe. That's the point, right? Find your tribe, find who you connect with, know that the rooms that you're in are for you to be able to level up and whatever that looks like, and continue to just keep growing. Because if you're growing and if you're fulfilling your purpose and whatever that may look like, then you're leaving that legacy. And I think that's the thing for me was what are people going to be, what are they going to remember me for? And what, I'm not going to go and save the world, but my little world, what will people remember for? And what will be the good deed? And how can I say, you know what, I've been able to just make a little impact in we always say just one person's life. That can change, that can change the trajectory of many people as it continues to be a ripple effect. So
yeah, find your tribe and don't be the smartest person in the room. That's the goal.
Supposed to save the advice for later on, so you have to come up with new ones. But so much to unpack there. Let's go back to that book. Was that the one with Julie Collette?
No, the book was written by Doc.
Okay.
I don't even know his real name. Vernon. What is Doc's real name?
Ian. I think it's Ian.
Yeah,
the Doc.
Yeah, but he doesn't like it. He's like, don't call me Doc. When I mean, don't call me Vernon. When I hear Vernon, I think of my mom and I think I'm in trouble. So everybody call me Doc. Yes, it was him. The name of his book was A Raisin in the Snow. And it means exactly what it means. I'm just gonna leave that there. We all know Doc, but it's a very interesting. It's a biography of his life. I know he was a fire chief. I don't remember. I don't think was he in the military. I don't think he was. But it's basically a biography of his life and all the trials and tribulations that he's gone through as a Black man. And so I've started reading through some of it, and some of it is pretty crazy. And I'm like, I think that just says a lot about his character, because I think just about anybody else would have knocked him on his ass. And he's still going. He's one of the most positive people I've ever met. Like, Doc is amazing. Oh, yeah.
I've met him, run into him quite a few times now, a little bit more now in Owners Club. But even before then, ran into him for some private money partner deals we're trying to put together. Shout out to Doc. Julie Collette, she's a veteran as well. She just recently released her book, Never Got to Say Goodbye.
Oh, wow.
Letters of Love, Loss, and Living Again. We just released her episode on Monday. She lost her husband to a blood clot. They were both in the service, the military. So I was just curious if that happened to be it as well.
There's been a couple of OC members that have recently dropped books. I know Rachel Davis dropped a book, I think, while we were in Monterey.
Yep.
I didn't know about that one, but shout out to Rachel Davis. I've seen her quite a bit now on Owners Club members. She's very present.
Yeah.
What's your team look like right now?
Ever evolving. So we used to have the dream team of 7, but it's not necessarily. But now, it's on the lending side of the business, we're building out. So we currently have right now on staff internally, we utilize a lot of virtual assistants. We do have 4 on staff. We do have, for the lending side, our partnerships, which I'm loving. They have their staff. So if there's a certain thing like a DSCR or hard money, they're able to utilize theirs. So that's just it's cool because they have underwriters, processors, and all of that. But internally, we're about 3 or 4. I'm in the hiring stage right now. And then our property management side, we are pretty lean. We do have about 2 individuals there that are overseeing that side of it, since we're not really scaling that. So
for those watching that don't know, virtual assistants are people that work remotely, usually over another country, could be further south or overseas. What success where have you successfully been able to find your virtual assistants?
I would say for that, there's a couple different options, but I would say the biggest watering hole for us is onlinejobs.ph. You can also find some like on Fiverr, but those are more project based. I know on Facebook it's starting to become more and more common depending on the room or the groups that you're a part of. But for us, it's been onlinejobs.ph. And that's more long term. I think some people there are starting to get the mentality of like, okay, this is going to be contract work. But when we hire somebody, it's not project based. Like, we want to add somebody to the staff if it makes a good fit. And then we'll go through a whole initial trial process, usually about 30 days. And if it works out, great, then we'll make it more official. And if it's not, then no harm, no foul, but it's time to part ways. And so we've gotten really good. Michelle's gotten really good at finding talent. And then if it's not a good fit, we've gotten really good at parting ways, because I don't want to waste our time. I don't want to waste their time when there's writing on the wall that I don't think this is going to fit. Why drag it out another month?
Do y'all have your systems and processes for your hiring process?
Well, I was going to say, that's the beauty of being with somebody that was a headhunter for so many years. She came with the process.
Right.
Yeah, I actually now have, because low key, I love doing the interviewing, the psychology of it, but it's not, we are building our business out. So I was able to handle it before, but as now we are building. So I've hired an internal recruiter that does that now for us. And so she is the one that does all of the virtual assistants. But the good thing is that virtual assistants, for people that don't know, I didn't know about this. Vin introduced me to that. I always hired, US based in office individuals. But sometimes these tasks can be, especially you have to be very lean when you start a business. They can help you with your email, with your marketing. They can help you with social media. You'd be surprised on some of the virtual assistants, their expertise and what they can do. They're like really good at spreadsheets, and they're really good at looking at, like, just sometimes when you hire the right one, they can really take a lot of things that we don't want to do off our plate. So I do have someone that does the recruiting for us. So she does do the preliminary recruiting, which is taking a lot off my plate because we are aggressively hiring. So we do get over 100 resumes. I think she just posted yesterday, the day before. Today we were looking, there was like 63 resumes, and it's because we have so many positions we're hiring for right now. And so that takes time, 63, no matter how quick you are, that takes hours away from really working on the seats that and the leadership side of what we need to do. So SOPs, constantly, like, we're constantly fine tuning them. We're building them right now, especially on the other side of our business, or the lending side of our business. Loom is our best friend, and making, videos, but learning that dynamic. Like, I think if you can teach online in the sense of to virtual assistants that are so far away, you can be able to know how to articulate things and find out what holes you really have in your business, because they're not physically here to sit in your office. So you can't physically teach them. So it gets you as an entrepreneur and as a leader to be able to understand and articulate how to train, which is a whole nother thing in itself.
Well said. I've been reading that book there, The Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell, and he talks about recording yourself to do your training, your hiring as well, and then even your possible applicants, give them a task to do, and a lot of them will just filter themselves out by not doing, just recording themselves doing some conversations.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's a huge fine print on our application. Is we'll give a quiz, and it's not that it's a BS quiz, but it's more to see if they know how to follow instructions. And one of those is like, okay, take this 10-question quiz, but Loom yourself. And again, for anybody that's listening, it's Loom, not Zoom. Loom, Loom. And so we're big believers that if there's anything in our business that we have to do more than once, we Loom it. And then it goes into, we're very structured and organized, and everything's got its folders. And so whatever that thing is, if we ever got to come back to it, then it's there. And Edgar, I'll tell you this much, like, we're real big of, once we have at least at a minimal, a basic of understanding of one aspect of our business, to then hand it off to let somebody else do it, because we got to keep thinking big picture. And there's times where we won't do, and I'll talk for myself, there's been times where I won't do something for 9 months, 12 months, 18 months. And then there's some kind of change within the company. And I'm like, okay, well, I got to do this for the next 2 weeks until we fill in that hole. I'm like, how did I do that? It's been a year. I haven't done this task. And I'm like, wait, I'm going to go into Loom. And I've literally had to train myself on something that I was doing a year and a half ago. And it's the funniest thing. I'm like, man, this is actually a pretty good video. And so, yeah, big believers. Anything that you got to do more than once, Loom it.
That's going back to you don't use it, you lose it, and that's not just about.
Oh,
It's about
100%.
the task itself. If you're not
100%.
using that task, those memory, you lose that memory muscle, and then you got to teach it. So having that Loom is very good.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do they have affiliate links? If you have an affiliate link, let me know. We'll put it
They,
down below.
I would love to. I'm looking into that because we
I
talk
don't know.
about Loom so much. They used to do an affiliate link. They don't anymore. But again, just loom.com. It's great. You can set up a free account. We have a paid account. I don't know. We probably pay $20 a month. I would say it's rare if we don't do at a minimum one Loom a day. Even like when Michelle and I got to talk, or if I'm in a meeting, she's in a meeting, or we're offsite or whatever, it'd be like, hey, this is what I need. Can you get to this when you have a chance? And boom, it'll get recorded, and here's a Loom. And it's easier because now it's very specific on what's got to get done. Like, all right, I can knock this out. So we love Loom. We use it for everything.
Yeah, 100% good tool to use, and I got to get better at using that. I just think I see my path and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna use this Loom, but it's gonna take me on my path a little bit, but not realizing that, not taking that one little side trip to do that Loom and come back, that every time I come to it, I have to keep on doing that when I could just do it one time and move forward. So thank you for reminding me about Loom and taking the steps to do that. Do both y'all have EAs?
Right now, we're filling Vin's side, so I'm on the upper. So how our business is divided, I do the always a front end thing. So if it has to do with acquisition on our real estate, so I do the acquisition, the underwriting, I do the operations, accounting, and recruiting. Vin is really big on the sales, implementation, fulfillment side of the business, and marketing. So I have to fill my seat first, right, with all my people, because we got to get it going, especially if we're doing loans and transaction coordination and all of that. And this week it's an uptick on the marketing side. But Vin loves that side, and it's going to be hard to sometimes take it away from him because he likes creativity, and he's a visionary, and he's very about colors. And that's why we work well together, because I'm very about numbers, analytical. So, no, he doesn't have a VA right this second.
I just share when I have a need.
One place that I've been more active on LinkedIn doing articles, and I've been getting a lot of virtual assistants reach out to me to get hired. Have you had any luck looking there?
Yes. Yeah. So she actually has, like I said, now it's a blessing in disguise, and she's amazing. It's not even in disguise. She's a blessing on it. So she does LinkedIn, Online Jobs PH. The good thing is that when you have, and we started implementing this about 6 months ago. So we've gone to 2 recruiters, but they know one of the things that I felt that our separation of with VAs is just the culture, right? Because we get VAs primarily from the Philippines, but we've gotten from Mexico, we've gotten from Australia is another region that we've had as well. When they have someone that's in their seat in the human resources, or the in between us and them, they can understand the culture and know and get sometimes more things and feel more comfortable for us to understand. Because most of the time it's just a communication barrier, right? It's, oh my God, they're yelling at me, or they are coming across this way. And it's truly just like, hey, and so it's ever evolving, especially with us, right? As entrepreneurs, we're moving fast, quick. Sometimes our staff is not, right? Or they're they don't love it or passionate as much as we are, because this is our baby. And so what she has done is she's been able to look at the different cross channels and be able to see, and LinkedIn is like the biggest one right now that a lot of people are starting to. It's crazy, because LinkedIn was so big for me 15 years ago and nobody knows it. And now I have so much to learn, because I have not been on that platform in forever. Never had video blogs. It was truly just like a very watered down Facebook. And now I know that a lot of people are turning to it. It's crazy.
I thought Facebook was going to die at one point, and now it's definitely on the upswing.
Yeah.
That's 15 years ago, and then it's changed. Yeah, I never thought about it, and I've heard other Owners Club members. Because of Owners Club, I started the podcast that I'm on, that you guys are on now, and then started doing LinkedIn articles as well, because a lot of people are getting just more visibility, so more branding. Actually, next week I'll have my first non-community member joining the podcast that reached out to me. I don't know if they found me through LinkedIn or through Spotify, but I've been saying no. I actually kind of booked them to try to get in this week's spot, but they scheduled it next week. So thank you guys for jumping in at the last minute
Of course.
with this and being able to keep my streak alive of one episode a week since Halloween. Where can people find you at?
So the easiest way to find us is if you go to michelleandvin.com. And I know everybody always asks, like, Michelle and Vin from the Fast and the Furious? I'm like, no, but it's just the same thing. So just think of Michelle Rodriguez and Vin Diesel, michelleandvin.com. That's our website. If you want to find Michelle independently, her handle across the board is My Story Michelle. And then mine is My Story Vin, is how you're going to find us.
That's the best way to find y'all. Great. We'll see you. That's your Instagram handle. And then your YouTube's the same, right?
Yep. Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, everything except for, what was the old one? I can't even remember the
MySpace.
one. Yes, MySpace. Everything but MySpace.
We'll cut that out. That's aged. Curiosity, what made you use the My Story?
Yeah, I believe, and one of the things that took me a very long time we're both introverts, but for me personally, I always downed my success and I always said, let me just keep it quiet. I never wanted to be out on social media. And at one point, someone came up to me and said, "You're being selfish." And I said, "What?" And that you're being selfish because what you can do and what your story is can impact one person. And so my biggest thing is it's my story. It's what I tell. It's what works for me. But hopefully my story will be able to help someone be able to continue to build their legacy and whatever that looks like. So
yeah, I know it was funny because I know when Michelle finally decided to get out of her own way, I don't even remember what your old handle was. And we were kind of just going back and forth. And we were just brainstorming. And then we came across My Story Michelle. I'm like, "Ooh, I like that." Mine before used to be Destiny Changer. But a lot of people thought that it was ego driven. And I'm like, I'm not looking to change anybody's destiny. I'm not looking to be a coach on the stage. I go, the only destiny I'm trying to change is my own. But I'm like, I think that's not resonating. I think it's just kind of hurting what I'm trying to do. And so when I saw hers, I'm like, I like that. I got to borrow hers too. And for me, it's this is my story. What is your story? Because we're all saying something, but are you saying anything worth listening to? Is a real question.
Such a valuable perspective there. I love it. Your story, your individual story. Pivoting a little bit about destiny. Earlier, y'all mentioned about maybe you're not a superhero to save the world, but there is a story of a child that's on the beach, and somebody's walking in the distance, and they see this child walking on the beach, and is picking up starfish and throwing it back into the ocean. And keeps on picking them up, throwing them as fast as he can. And when the person gets to the child, says, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, I'm saving these starfish." He's like, "You're not going to make a difference." And the kid looks at him,
That can
picks
make
up
a
another
difference to this starfish.
throws it in the water.
I know the story.
Yeah, I'm making a difference to that. So if you're listening to this, you don't need to change the world, but you can smile to a person, say thank you to a person, be appreciative to a person, and you can change their world for that day in a positive way. So let's be positive, let's stay excellent, and let's continue to do big things. Something I didn't get to is what we've been over an hour, almost hour and 20 people watching. Thank you so much for being here, for listening to the story. Where can people work with you too?
Michelle?
Yeah, I was waiting for you. So if you are looking to put your money to work, or you have savings, or you really want to be able to, start making your money work for you, we are inviting investors and we walk them through as far as the step by step. And it's not a shotgun approach. Like, we really walk through and help you feel comfortable in doing that. And as we mentioned earlier, you're impacting the world with the projects that we are going into, and we can get in more conversation with that. And so that is really where we're leaning on, is really other people that say, hey, you know what, stock market's not working for me, or hey, savings is in a savings account. Hey, I wanted to get into real estate, but it kind of sounds crazy, all the things you guys just talked about, but maybe I have a little bit of savings to be able to get working. So that's the biggest thing for us. And then the other thing is, if there's borrowers out there that are really truly purpose driven and impact driven, you know, projects and so forth. We're here to really want to be able to help them to get to that next level so that they can continue. There's a lot in real estate, right, that we have to really think about. And so we're one person at a time, we're able to help. And I'm constantly having those conversations and hearing people's stories. And the crazy thing is that no matter what, we need money in order for us to make that difference even bigger than what it is, right? And that is just by us helping in any way that we can. So borrowers, if you're looking to really get your, the capital raising side is maybe not your strong suit, or you're just really focusing on really the impact on things. And then private money lenders that to really help us be able to impact the world. And you helping us by doing that and still earning dividends on that.
Yeah, and 100%. And I just want to really drive home that everything that we try to work with or help or be involved in, really, we like to lean into passion projects that are purpose driven, that are impact driven. It's not just for us. It's not just a matter of making money. That if you do right in the world, that shows up regardless, but it's really about trying just to do better. For lenders, if there's anybody out there that's looking to put their capital to work, then again, please reach out, because we don't just start working with people on day one. We got to make sure that there's rapport, that we've had relationships, that that it's a good fit on both sides, because it's not just a matter of you interviewing us. We also have to interview you to make sure that it's a good fit both ways, because it's not, let's go out on a Friday night and it's one date. This is at least at a minimum, on average, 1 to 2 year commitment with some of the projects that we're working on. We do have some that are smaller, but our average is a year to a 2 year, and it's a double-digit return annualized. So we outperform having a CD. We outperform on average the stock market, and you're secured by the actual asset. I can't say that with crypto. I can't say that with stock. I can't even say that with gold. Gold could be something today and it could drop tomorrow. Real estate has never fluctuated that much, either up or down in I think 7-year windows. So that's why I love real estate. It's I can lose everything in the stock market tomorrow, but not in real estate if you have the right documentation and you know how to protect yourself, which Michelle and I, we always look out for the people that we work with. Sometimes it feels like we're negotiating against ourselves, but that really is the truth, because we're into this for the longevity. We're not looking to just do one transaction and be done next year. We're looking to work with people for the next 5 years, the next 10 years. Again, I've been doing this for 21 years, and some of those people have been with me since day one.
Mm-hmm.
Such good information there. With the so you have the borrowers and then you have the lenders. What about connectors? How do connectors work with you?
100%. So we always like connectors that can be able to, it's all a referral based business, and we really referrals are very dear to us, right? Because we're all here. So connectors can work with us as well. If you have a borrower that needs some type of funding, and something what I tell connectors is that you could potentially earn four different ways with one transaction. And a lot of people don't, and that is what we're creating. That's why I say we're kind of creating something. I really, as far as the way our business is evolving. So imagine this: someone needs a hard money loan and then they need gap lending, right? So you brought in the borrower and we find them the hard money loan. You get, a referral off of that. You get a referral off of a private money lender as well, because they're funding that deal. Say they're going into co-living, or they're going into a buy and hold. Well, the exit strategy is a DSCR lender. Well, you can get a kickback on that as, or a referral off of that. And then also if we have to get a long-term for the gap on that. That's 4 times on one particular thing. But it's not even only that. It's about building those relationships and being able to be a solution, right? And so I love connectors. We're connectors. I talk to a lot of people. I make sure I take a lot of notes because I don't know everything and we don't have everything as far as being the one-stop shop. We're focusing on this season, but there are certain people that we can connect with, and that's what community is about. And so, you know what? I don't focus on this. Someone else is focused on this. Our lenders, we're a connector to them, right? So we're a connector to them. We're a connector with the things. So we definitely, absolutely work with connectors. And we are always happy to give referrals. And that's not just in the lending business, guys. That is also in our real estate side as well.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Going back to gap funding a little bit, and Vin, you being in Los Angeles, I've actually had somebody reach out to me for gap lending in that area. Do you still have connections to gap lenders in that area?
The short answer is yes, but it really depends. Like for the more, and I don't want to call it traditional because people think traditional, they think of JP Morgan, they think of Chase, they think of Bank of America. But for the lane that we're in, when I say traditional, it's more like the hard money DSCR, business funding, new construction, RV parks, mobile parks. And for me, that's the more traditional of what we're doing. That we can do anywhere in the U.S. When we're talking about gap funding, private money funding, we try to stick more in landlord-friendly states for the simple reason that they're landlord-friendly states. California is not one of them, hence the reason I would never buy and hold in California, even though I'm born and raised there. The only time I was looking at buying and holding there is when there was enough doors to justify in case somebody wants to stay for free for 2 years. And you got to Google that. You'll find all kinds of stories in regards to that. So can we help with that? We could. Again, for anybody that's looking to look at some capital, if you go to mvfunding.com, again, M as in Mary, V as in Victor, funding.com. Submit your deal there. If we'll underwrite it, or the team will underwrite it, and if it looks good and if it makes sense, then we can continue to the next step. So it's not that we wouldn't take a look at it. It's just not a landlord-friendly state.
Fix and flippers will do it. There's been guys out there that were the Vins of the world 20 years ago. So I say we would. It just depends on the borrower.
Exactly.
Yeah, I would say for us, and I think this is a good rule of thumb for anybody listening, is when you're underwriting, it's not just about the deal. We're also looking at the individual. And when I say that, I'm not saying, hey, I got to pull your credit. It's really getting to know what their experience is, what they have going on, not just the successes, but also the failures and why those have happened. Because I think that says a lot. I know Michelle says this all the time. It's probably 20% the deal, 80% on the individual, if that makes sense. So I'm a big believer that a great operator can make a bad deal good. A horrible operator can make a great deal bad. So it swings both ways.
Facts. If y'all still have time to carry on, I'd like to talk about capital raising.
Yeah.
What's your advice for people that want to raise capital? What do you find the most successful ways? Networking?
Yeah.
I would say number one, get in your car and go somewhere and meet people. And I'm sure Michelle's going to break it down on a very intellectual level, but I'll give you an example. This being an OC member, but everything that we do is on our calendar to even include like our date night. So it's like it's on there. And it's like, okay, this is a time block for us to go to dinner, go to a movie, go bowling, go whatever it might be. But even when we go out, like if we go out to dinner, we'll go to a nice restaurant, but we usually try to sit by like the bar or something like that, because you always know you're going to meet somebody that's worth having a conversation with, especially if we go during the week, during like a late lunch. I'm like, well, it's usually the CEOs of some company that left the office to go have a drink. And so we try to be as intentional as we possibly can with every opportunity that we can create. That's really what it is we're trying to create, not even that we're trying, but we are creating our own opportunities by just being in the right place and just creating conversations with people. So I know it doesn't seem like it, but we're very big introverts. But if I don't get out of my own way, then I'm not moving my needle forward. So, Michelle, you're going to say something?
Yeah, I think for capital raising, I think a lot of the times that it depends on what where you're at, right? But if you're just starting off, it's relationship building and it's just really following up. I think a lot of capital raisers, and especially when I first started, I flopped on my first couple of times of raising capital. It was about the numbers and numbers and numbers driven. And a lot of times the numbers are great. And we all know if a good deal is a bad deal and a bad deal, it's on the numbers based off of that. People know more or less what they're going to make. It's really what is that going to be used for? So a lot of what we do is we tell the story. So if I said, hey, Edgar, I need to, this is sometimes capital raisers as well, I need to borrow $50,000 versus, hey, Edgar, I have a $50,000 opportunity for you. And we're actually going to be able to help a co-living property that is going to impact aged out foster children. And we can probably, for the time and the term that you will be with us, you could probably impact 7 to 14 foster children and in addition to that, you are going to make XYZ because we are, in a, you are lending to us. So it's a very different approach. And I think a lot of times people are scared of money. So the number one thing I tell capital, if you want to be a capital raiser, you got to change your mindset. Because I just said the two things and I kind of gave that away. But most of the time people think I'm borrowing and not presenting an opportunity.
Boom. And on that note, I'm out of here. No.
Mic drop.
Yeah. No, here's Edgar, if you don't mind, I'm going to backpedal a little bit to my earlier years. I don't know if you want to call it ego or confidence. I'm going to call it confidence. But when I was first starting, I had a bunch of, I wouldn't say a bunch, but I had several lenders come to me. Because I was already starting my track record. I'm like, okay, this guy, he hasn't defaulted, he hasn't failed. He's there's processes and everything else, and I like him more than Joe Blow down the street. That it's a little shaky, and so I started having lenders start reaching out to me and be like, hey, he's like, I want to do a JV deal with you. I want to do this. I want to do that. I'm like, okay, what does that deal look like to you? He's like, okay. He's like, well, I'm gonna bring the money, so I want 50% of the deal. I'm like, okay, are you going to physically be at the job site? Are you going to follow up with the contractor? Are you going to do this? Or are you going to do that? And it's like, well, no, I'm bringing the money. I'm like, that is not worth 50% of the deal. This is just my opinion. People can do with this whatever they want. I'm like, well, what do you mean? You can't buy the deal without my money. I'm like, yes, I can, because I have 7 more people just like you. But how many people like me do you have in your pocket? And be like, oh, damn. Okay, now there's a whole background and negotiation, but it's just being confident in what you're doing and doing. First off, you got to do what you say, and when you promise something, you got to deliver on that. Because I think a big believer that your word is everything, and it's the same thing. It's just like Michelle said. It's you got to paint the picture, and you got to make them feel comfortable. When I had first started, I used to present these decks. Now we call them opportunity decks, but I would call them pitch decks or pro formas. And so we don't use that anymore because it sounds too Harvard-y, too unrelatable. It's like, what is that? Like when she said hedge fund, I'm like, the first time I heard that, I thought it was a landscaping company. I'm like, okay, they're doing something with hedges. And so my decks were literally anywhere from 18 pages to 32 pages long, nothing but numbers. And so my close ratio at that point I thought was good. But the more I kept asking, I was losing people because I wasn't building rapport. I wasn't talking to them on their level. They want to know more about where their money's being put to work, what's going on with it, and whether or not I'm a POS or not. That's really what they want to know. And so now my decks are no more bigger than 3 to 5 pages if they even ask for it. We always have one ready to go, but it's very specific. Okay, this is a property. This is the address. This is what's going to happen. This is what we're going to do with the property, whether it's affordable housing or co-living or midterm rentals for military. And all of a sudden, it's a completely different conversation. It's still the same outcome, but it's a completely different story.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. Yeah, having a good story, telling the people that you're going to help instead of just saying borrow money, this and that, and having a long pitch deck, seeing these pitch deck, seeing all these numbers where a lot of people would just zone out when they see that many pages and so many numbers. I love how purposeful you are, that even at date nights, you're sitting there trying to raise capital. when you're sitting at a bar there, how do y'all just like have a conversation between you two talking about opportunities, or I mean, how do you
Oh,
bring
we
it up
just,
to someone next to you?
we have our laptop out with the presentation ready to go. No, just kidding.
I got a
We're,
pointer every time we go out.
yeah. Now we're in the people business. Obviously, now we've been able to really, and the relationship business, right? And so now we're more comfortable with it, and it's because we have we've been doing this for a while. And it's kind of fun. I mean, when you enjoy what you're doing and you're actually doing it, you just spark up conversations, and anyone can be your lender. I have right now, we have business owners. We have a restaurant owner. They don't have to be in real estate. In fact, sometimes that's even better because they don't know, they're not all about, I want to become the investor, right? We do have people that have been investors, and they were doing it for a very long time, and now they're in the seat of lending because they're like, I don't want to deal with all of it. I know what you're dealing with. And everybody has their course and their season and what they're doing. So, I mean, honestly, as introverted as we are, we force each other to have conversation, and we'll just spark it up, or we'll listen and hear if they say something. And we don't really force anyone. One of the things that Vin mentioned earlier, like if somebody wants to lend to us, the first conversation, we're not even talking about deals. Right? We're not talking, we're talking about getting to know them. We want to know that it makes sense for both of us to be able to be in some type of partnership. And that's typically what it is. And, sometimes not all money is good money. And we've had incidents where I've walked away from $2 million. And I walked away because the gentleman's like, hey, I'll give you $2 million for your project. But your business partner at that time was my mom. You got to cut your mom out because she's just going to be dead weight. Well, guess what? And then you do a little bit further investigation, and that's what I did. And it finds out he's had $2 million. He had $2 million burning a hole in his pocket for about 18 months. And the reason for that is he wasn't a good person. And I always believe you want to do good, and good will come, and people will be in your circle. But I don't know. We just spark up conversations. I guess it's just all about that networking. I mean, I don't go in somebody's eating and just like intrude on their.
That's where we're different. I'll walk up to somebody and be like, "Hey, what does that taste like?" And I'll just take it off there. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I might do that, but I'm just kidding. But no, it's we have
joking,
people,
but not really.
Yeah, he's like, it depends. If it's a taco, then maybe I will take it.
Yeah, but here's the truth. It's a couple things based off of what she said. We have people that work with us all walks of life. Again, business owners, non-business owners. We have people that are electricians that still have their W-2. We have retired people, and when I say retired, most people think it's somebody that retired very wealthy. No, we have people that with the monthly check that we give them, they were either putting food on the table or paying for their mortgage. So to them, even if it's $400 a month, it makes a huge difference to those people. And so that's the kind of stuff that we love doing because we know we're making a difference in somebody's life. But the other thing that I want to say is that we've been doing this for so long that it really is a muscle. Like it's a muscle that we use every day. So the more that we use it, the better that we get at it. And it's funny, we'll go to a networking event and we'll go separate ways. Like we won't walk the room together. We usually meet on the other side of the room. And it's funny, literally looking throughout the room, you can usually spot who you have to talk to. And whether that's a sixth sense or just from doing this so long, and it's funny, we'll meet on the other side of the room. I'm like, who did you talk to? And half of the people are the same people because you can just kind of tell. I'm like, I don't know what it is about this person, but I need to have a conversation. And I'll give you a perfect example. We were at, I think, BJ's for wings, and the place was so full. I'm like, well, let's just go sit at the bar because that's usually where we sit. Well, there was nowhere else to sit, and there were two gentlemen, I think, at a six spot table. And we're like, hey, do you guys mind if we sit way at the other side of the table? Yeah, no worries. And so just us having a conversation, them having a conversation, and kind of bled into each other. And then we're having a conversation. It turns out that this gentleman is the Olympic trainer to the females basketball team, to where he's looking to build a facility in San Antonio, and he needs capital. And so we just had a conversation with him, a more detailed conversation with him on Sunday. to where potentially we can go into a deal with them in regards to building a facility for Olympic athletes here in our backyard.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that real estate, at least for me, it is something that most people like pique their interest. Some of them don't know what that looks like. Some of them think we're agents or whatever, but real estate is always in people's mind. Whereas if I said, "Oh, I'm a headhunter and I'm a recruiter," I don't know what they call them these days now, but I'm a recruiter. That people can't relate as much. But if you just say real estate, I mean, the first thing I know we receive is, "Oh, you're an agent." And I'm like, no, not necessarily, but, and there's nothing wrong with my agents. Shout out to my agents out there, but that's not what we do. And so I think real estate just gives us a little bit more of that comfortability because you're able to say, "Oh, I've always wanted to go into real estate," or there's a way you can be a lender. So
yeah, it's just a matter of educating people. That I would say that's big. Probably the biggest missing piece is a lack of information or people knowing where to get information. So it's just really some of the conversations we have is just educational conversations. And then if there's anything there, then we'll have another conversation. And so that's really what it is. Just getting out of our own way.
Y'all helped me unlock something there. So when I go to the office, when I do not doing my remote work, I have to actually go to the office. I need to spend time and go out to lunch and have conversations and listen in and try to be that. And then going back to about the who, not the how, is that we can be that who for the people that want to learn how to get into real estate. So that's amazing information, amazing nuggets there. It's been so good. Thank you so much. We talked about earlier, what advice do you have for somebody that wants to get started into not just real estate, it could be just entrepreneurship?
So the good thing is that there's always a way. You always, now once you repeat this and rinse and repeat multiple times, you know that there will be eventually time that you can breathe. But don't think that when you first start an entrepreneurship that you have an 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, because like us right now, we work 7 days a week, maybe 12 to 16-hour days. But you got to love what you're doing, and you may not know what that is yet. But one thing I will say is try something and give it a good effort. Find mentorships, find someone that can guide you that's doing what you're doing. And if you've done it long enough, 3 months, 6 months, and gave it a really good try, and if it's not for you, it's okay to pivot. It's okay to say, you know what, I didn't fail. I just realized I didn't want to do that thing.
100% agree. And I'm going to say, people that are out there saying they're entrepreneurs, stop it. Just stop it right now. Because that word is so overused in today's world. It's crazy. I think a lot of people think that it's I'm going to work from 10 to 2 and go golfing on Friday and basically check out for 3 to 4 days a week. No, that's not the case. But I agree with Michelle. Find somebody, figure out what you want to do. Find somebody that's already, and again, you can't find somebody that's 20 steps ahead of you. It's too big of a gap. You're setting yourself up for failure. But if you find somebody that's 1 step, 2 step, 3 steps ahead of you, and if you have to pay for their time, pay for their time. If there's value that you can bring to them and make their life easier and do stuff for them without getting paid, do that. Because the one thing that it just irks me, I think at this point, because I still get, I think Michelle gets calls like this too. Hey, can we meet up? Can I pick your brain? Hey, can we meet up? Let me buy you coffee. I'm like, my time is so worth much more than just a cup of coffee. And it's just, we have people that have paid for mentorships to somebody else. And I just don't know if they're just, I'm going to be honest with you at this point, editor, to where they're just too lazy to go through the training. They're like, oh, well, let me just buy you a coffee and you can tell me the secret in 15 minutes. I'm like, no, number one, that ain't truthful. And I'm not going to waste my time doing that. But if you're going to do something, dedicate 6 months at a minimum, and really put effort into it. Then you're going to know whether it's for you or if it's not. And if you have a W-2 job, that's just an excuse, because guess what? If you get off at 5, you still have 4 hours before 9 o'clock. Even if you do it 3 days a week, 4 days a week, for consistently 6 months, you'll see the needle move if it's something really that you want. So find something that you really care about, that you want to do. Give it a real good effort. And then if you're going to do it with other people, make sure that you like the people you're doing it with. My quick gauge for something like that is the person that you're thinking about going into business with. Would you be okay going on vacation with them for the next 7 days and not want to kill them? Or do they just bug you that much? If they bug you on vacation for 7 days, that's a huge sign not to go into business with them. If you can go on vacation and enjoy yourself and everything's great and the family's got together, that's a completely different scenario at the end of 7 days. I'm like, okay, well that's worth doing something. So that's just my food for thought in regards to that.
Brilliant words of advice. Thank you so much. We've covered so much here, so much to unpack. We've gone through your dream, we've gone through how you started, we've gone through, you guys are ahead of the game, owning your time with your team, your VAs, your funding. There's so much, we can just keep on going down the list. But before we head out, let's people go hit the comments, give us a like, subscribe, it's free. Tell us your biggest takeaways, and thanks for joining us.
Of course, thank you for having us.
Catch this next podcast where you can start your dreams and start to own your time the way these other guests have.